Hi, my name is Risa, and I am the ex-co-founder of a HubSpot Diamond agency called Cacao Media, as well as the author of a book called Empowering Marketing and Sales with HubSpot. I had every intention to use this event and make it all about my book. After all, I spent 2 years of sleepless nights juggling all of my responsibilities to make this book a reality. So when my editors asked me to go on a virtual book tour, I was all in. But lately, after seeing my social media feed being flooded with announcements of layoffs and companies shrinking their resources in order to stay afloat, I knew I had to use my platform for something greater. So I decided for the next 6 weeks to gather some of the best minds in the business to talk directly to business leaders on how they can reimagine and restructure their plans to keep their businesses relevant during these times. As our all-time favorite investor, Warren Buffett, once said, the stock market is a device to transfer money from the impatient to the patient. So although this is a time where you need to be conscious of your spending, it is not the time to abandon all of your plans for growth and expansion. The pandemic was an unusually bumper season for many, and naturally, things would have slowed down. This is why I am really pleased that my guest today, Sangram Vajre, will help you understand how to build an effective go to market strategy that will show you how to keep your business plans relevant even in an economic downturn. Why Sangram? Well, I think his LinkedIn title says it best. Sangram is an ex CMO turned CEO, which means he gets the drugs we marketers are addicted to. Holding various roles in marketing, he eventually left his last marketing role at Pardot to co found Terminus, one of the most popular ABM platforms we marketers have come to rely on. Since then, he has ventured into another company, GTM Partners, which focuses on helping companies build their go to market strategies. The reason why I'm excited to have Sangram open this series with me is because when I heard him speak at HubSpot's inbound conference earlier this year and read his latest book, Move, I realized this is the information the world needs to see and hear right now. Not to mention, it is a perfect complement to my book, Empowering Sales and Marketing with HubSpot. See, HubSpot is a tool, but Move presents a strategy, or rather transformational process we need to think about before understanding how to set up the tool. So these two books are just better together and they will help you understand how to make your tool generate the revenue goals you seek. So join me in welcoming Sangram. So Sangram, I'm so happy to have you with us today. And I just wanted us to jump right in. You have been known as a go-to-market master lately, and I want to understand from you, what is the biggest misconception you think companies have about GTM?
Well, the number one misconception is around this question: who owns go-to-market? Because that's the biggest challenge. Most people think, oh, they own, maybe marketing owns, maybe sales. And we have done a ton of research as part of our own firm. And people would say about 77% say that one department owns it. Now, Ressa, before I give you the answer, here's the very interesting question I think everybody needs to ask is this: if you can change the compensation of your peer, then you should own go-to-market. But if you can't do that, you can't own it. You can only facilitate it, participate in it, but you can't own it. And when you think about it, the person that makes sense to own go-to-market is the CEO. And that's what all of our research and every single person that I've ever asked, even from Yamini, the CEO of HubSpot, to Brian Halligan, who was before that, or Nick Mehta, who's the Gainside CEO, all of the CEOs, they get it. The leaders around them are the one they're still wondering who owns go-to-market.
Amazing. You know, Sangram, I really, really enjoy your book. It's like near me all the time. I'm always reading it. And let's take a step back a bit about go-to-market, because you sort of mentioned in your book that go-to-market or GTM is not a strategy, and especially it's not the company's strategy, nor is it a project. So yes. What exactly is it and why?
That's a great question. You know, we went through that, and I remember this is Brian Halligan's words, and I have it in the back of the book as part of his endorsement for it. And he said, and this is when I asked him, like, define go-to-market. We had 50 questions, and one of them was like, define go-to-market. That was another mind-boggling question, and everybody had a different answer, but he gave us the best answer, and that led to this whole myth busting in the book. Is he said, well, go-to-market is like a product. It's like a project. It's not a weekend endeavor where you just take your executive team and put on a whiteboard and draw some stuff and come back. No, that is strategy. That is what you do every quarter. That's fine. But go to market is like a product. And here are a few examples of this, Reza. Think about who is going to be able to make a decision between, and is this a go to market strategy of acquiring a company or partnering?
Right.
Think about spending more money in marketing or sales, or thinking about opening an office in EMEA or staying in North America. These are all go-to-market decisions. And this requires, and this happens all the time, you can't wait for a weekend getaway to make those decisions. That's coming to you hard and fast every single day, especially in this economic times where everybody's wondering why layoffs are happening, why things are changing. Well, those are all go-to-market decisions. We like it or not, we want it or not, it's what's happening right now.
That is so crucial that you're saying that, Sangram, because this is exactly why I decided to kind of switch the focus of this series right now. And as you mentioned, with this economic crisis today, some of the things, we have been so focused in the last couple of years because we've been experiencing a boom, especially in the tech space. And we've been focused on changing and going after things like the flywheel and RevOps. And we had all these nice buzzwords around us. In your book, you literally kind of like had those things as part of 6 truths about go-to-market. How do you think those 6 truths right now fit into the concept of a company's go-to-market process today? And more so, is it more relevant today in this economic crisis?
Rasa, it couldn't be more relevant, and I couldn't have predicted the time for it. So in some ways, very fortunate that we wrote the book the time when we wrote it. And the whole book is about efficient growth. Mm-hmm. So in the boom space that you and I both have experienced, and many listeners have experienced it, we went through this like growth at all costs. Like, as long as you're growing, it's totally fine. And right now, everyone has been asked like, no, we need efficient growth, which, by the way, should have always been our goal. But for some reason, we missed it. We went around this, whoever started talking about double, triple your numbers every year. And people thought that was the best thing to do. But no, the best thing to do is to build a profitable business.
Right.
People have forgotten about that. People have thought that, no, it's okay for 20 years if you continue to raise money, or it will be a bigger pie. And people have forgotten that what we are as leaders, founders, revenue leaders, our job is to build profitable businesses. And if companies are building profitable businesses, they won't have layoffs like the way they are having. The reason there are so many layoffs at that level is because they're trying to arbitrarily, in an Excel spreadsheet, show the growth rate is here, not here, but here. Instead, in order for them to go from here to here, they have to cut some people down so they can actually show that arbitrage. That's the reason a lot of times the layoffs are happening, not because somebody's incompetent, not because somebody didn't do what they're supposed to do. They did that because they wanted to fill out a spreadsheet for an investor or public company. But that's not why layoffs should happen. If you're building profitable businesses, that shouldn't matter to you at the way it's mattering right now. And that's why it happens right at the end of the quarter, because that's what they're trying to do before the end of the year. And it's sad.
Wow, I'm so happy that you've put some perspective around this, because I've been looking at my Facebook feed and LinkedIn feed and getting really nervous. And not because I feel insecure about my job and my position, but more so because I feel the compassion for people who have lost their jobs and they sort of turn against the companies and they feel like, they have been dealt a really hard blow. And they don't sometimes put things in perspective, as you've just explained. It's not really a personal issue with you. It's not whether you did a good job or not, but it's really about them just having to meet their balance sheets and show those investors that, hey, we're still profitable. You're still going to get your shares. So I appreciate that.
I think people are going to start changing the way they're going to choose different companies to work for.
Right.
All these companies who had to do all these things, not for real business reasons, but for artificial numbers. I think when people are going to start looking for jobs, people should ask questions. How profitable is the company? Right. What does the market going to look like? How much money do you have in the bank? Is there, if something happens economically, how do you plan to do it? And people never have asked those questions before. And I think it's time for new people to start asking those questions to their hiring managers and the leaders. And the leaders should be able to answer those questions. Otherwise, it's not a great fit for you. So that's just an advice for everybody looking for the next job.
Good one. Thank you. And that leads me to the next question really for you. in your book, you talked about TAM and TRM. So just
Mm.
to explain to our audience, TAM is supposed to be companies that like to focus on the total addressable market. And you mentioned in your book about really going after TRM, right? So be
Yes.
focused on your total relevant market. So
Yes.
I want to know, like, why do you think that each company should avoid chasing TAM, and really how could they change the TRM in a quicker way?
Oh, thank you so much for bringing that up. And now talking about TRM, I'll tell you a quick story. When I started Terminus 7 and 8 years ago, when we co-founded with Eric Spett and Eric Bass, we used to go to investors and tell them like, hey, our TAM is, $3.5 billion. Like, it's so big. It's bigger than marketing automation. ABM is a new thing. And that's how you raise money. And we raised a lot of money to build a company along the side. But here's the thing. We had to close in order to meet whatever numbers we had to get to a million or 5 or 15 as we grew in the first few years. We had to close like maybe 200 deals, 300 deals. And if we could focus on, there's a big difference. It's like to close the 3.5, you would have to close 100,000 companies. But really to meet our yearly goals, it's only 100, 200 deals.
Right.
So when you really put that in perspective, like, well, okay, how do I close 300 deals or 200 deals or 100 deals or 50 deals? That's your relevant market. That's the way you should go after. Like, oh, we can close 50 deals in a high growth technology companies, or in financial services, or in manufacturing. So as soon as you start taking, instead of the TAM, which is as broad as it possibly can be, to TRM, which is where can we have the most impact, which customers will give the first paycheck, which customers would actually have the pain more acute right now, where are we finding the real success? When you start asking those questions that we laid down in the book, you can figure out what your TRM is. Right. And once you figure out, it's actually faster and easier for you to win those deals. Most companies just spend time on the TAM and in the hopes that something will come down to them, as opposed to focusing on TRM, where they would actually have a higher win rate. And again, drives them to build a more profitable company faster.
I really like that you're saying this, because I used to be the co-founder and CMO of another agency, a HubSpot Diamond partner agency. And I would always have these discussions when the companies are asking me, we need more leads. And, as marketers, we are also trying to focus on all the different things we can do to bring in more leads. But I always used to try to say, okay, I kind of like use HubSpot as the excuse. I'm like, HubSpot is set up in a specific way that you really need to go after these relevant leads. You don't want to see that you have 10,000 people in there, because you're going to be paying HubSpot for that. Okay. So you don't necessarily want to have too many irrelevant people in your system, but you want to really make sure your marketing strategies are like focused on getting the best fit leads for your company. So you will see those reports looking better as well. As you said earlier, just like the companies are now cutting budget to make their profits look better, it's the same thing with marketing and sales reports. If you have better quality leads, suddenly your sales pipeline looks better and healthier, and suddenly your reps are looking as if they're doing things, and you don't have to be chasing them and feeling like they're not doing anything. So I think it's the same kind of process we have to think about when we think of the strategy, and now we think of the tool we have. How do we kind of merge both to get the best out of the both systems and reach our goals?
It is one of the most important things every organizations need to be doing, but now it's not a choice. They have to do this. Your budgets are getting shorter. The number of people working on it is less. People are more sensitive to what they're paying. So if you're not focused, if you're not intentional about it, I have a saying, you may have heard this, that I've said this before, is that being intentional is way more important than being brilliant.
All right. I love that.
It couldn't be more true right now. There are a lot of brilliant marketers and leaders listening to this right now who have an idea that is going to be amazing, and that's awesome. But if you're not aligned as a team, it doesn't matter if you're right. So if you're not intentional about what you're going after, who you're going after, what your messaging, positioning, point of view is, it's not going to be, you're going to be irrelevant very quickly. So I love that you were advising that even at the lead level, because that's really where it starts.
Amazing. But Sangram, let's get to the meat of this. You named this book Move, right? Yes. And as I understood it, Move is a framework that you're using for GTM. Could you give our listeners a short synopsis of what Move stands for and how is it relevant for their companies?
All right, 30 seconds. I'll try to pull that in. So MOVE is an acronym for market, operations, velocity, and expansion. So it's market, operations, velocity, and expansion. And the order matters. It's a circle, but it matters because initially you're trying to figure out which market to go after. So we talked about TAM, TRM, but let's say you're a bigger company. All of a sudden, the question that you will ask about who do you market to is still the same, but the answer will change. Initially, it might be TAM when you're an early stage company, problem market fit. The later on, you might figure out where it's working, so that's your product market fit. And then as you become a bigger company and you become a platform market fit, the same question, who should we market to, changes to what kind of customers do we want? What are the customer segments we want to go after? So again, the questions are the same all four. That was the beauty of the research that ended up being same four questions regardless of the stage because the answer will be different. I'll go through one more. Operations is the same thing. Operations is about how do you operate a company. So early stage, you might have individual contributors who are literally saying, well, marketing as an ops person and sales as an ops person, and everybody is just running their own individual department metrics. Makes sense. Early stage, perfect. But when you get to a product market fit, what you need is sales and marketing working together and do more ABM, go after a specific set of accounts. That's when you start alignment is very important. So again, question is still operations. But then when you become a really big company, what you need is revenue operations because that's when you want all these numbers to come together so you can make bigger business decisions. Where should we invest? Should we invest more in marketing or sales? Individuals can never make that decision after some point. It has to be more holistically at the executive level. So each one of these questions, market, operation, velocity, expansion, the beauty is these are the same exact questions regardless of the stage of the business. And I hope people can start to use that to drive their efficient growth.
You know what I loved about that framework when I was reading it through? Because I think as marketers, we always struggle to figure out for startups, for instance, which I've worked with most of my life, they always think they can do the same thing like a bigger company. So they look
Right.
at those bigger companies and they think, oh, that's what they do. And we can probably do something similar. And for the first time, I'm seeing a framework that is relevant to all three types of company, different stages, and
Yep.
suddenly can make everybody understand what they need to do at their relevant stages, you know? So this, I think, was super valuable in how you presented the framework.
Now, thank you. And we have seen this used in board decks right now. We are seeing this by early stage startup CEOs and CMOs of trying to figure out, all right, what problems are they really trying to solve? And here's the kicker, Ressa. A lot of times, just because RevOps is the new buzzword, well, early stage, you actually should not do RevOps. It's actually a bad thing for you because at this point, you want autonomy. You want teams to run fast. You want to make mistakes. You want to test. Nothing is perfect yet. Makes sense for you not to have RevOps. So a lot of times my advice to CEOs and as we are doing a lot of the research and helping companies grow and with their go-to-market, we tell them like, just because it is a buzzword, don't do that. That like early stage companies, oh, NR is the most important metric. Yes, NRR is a very important metric, but you don't even have customers yet. So I think you should focus on ARR, like just get customers right now. So
Right.
people have to understand where to really focus and not get sidetracked with a shiny new object. It's a good way to have a view into what they need in future, but each stage is so different and people have to work on so many things. We don't want to add more complexity to it. We need to create simplicity in figuring out what are my three things that I need to have for this stage for the next 3 months. Get that right and then move on to the next stage.
I could not agree more. It's almost like I always say to my customers, it's a crawl, walk, run
Yeah,
kind of system, right? You have
yeah.
to take things in baby steps. You're just starting, as you said, you mentioned your three P's. I love that as well. It's really about understanding product market fit and platform fit and all those different things. You have to consider those stages. So this was really, really good.
You made me think about my own book a little bit of like, oh, I have not talked about that in a while. So I'm going to start posting about it. It's been almost 2 years. The book has been done well and been used in so many ways. And sometimes I don't even like think about there must be somebody that will make sense to them today. So thank you for inspiring me to talk about it again.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I told you, I said, why didn't I know this book when I had my agency? I would have been like the most selling agency, even more than I was before, right? Because
Oh,
it really spoke to me. So, as we get to wrap up right now, Sangram, my last questions for you really is, Like, what is one thing that you see your program, especially the Move framework, did for a client that you didn't expect?
Oh, that's a good one. Uh, it actually brought what we actually have lately been calling is a cat framework. Like it's fun. I think in framework, so forgive me for that. So here's another one to drop in it. It actually brought the three things that I think most organizations need: clarity, alignment, and team. So every time we did workshops, every time we do and teach people how to think about it, regardless of the stage, we have customers that are 40 billion in revenue, and there's a customer that is a 3 million in revenue, right? It's very different, but both of them need the same three things. They need clarity on where they're going to go, what to focus on. They need alignment. Everybody has to be on it. Otherwise, they're going to have incremental progress. And team ownership. They need to know who owns what. Everybody can't own everything. We need clarity in all of that. So it was really interesting. We kept talking about it. And so now we have fun. It's kind of our core value. Let's get the cat out of the bag is how we call it. Like, instead of basically saying you didn't do this. No. Let's just talk about what problem do we have? Oh, we have a clarity problem or alignment problem or team ownership problem. So instead of saying somebody didn't do that, it's let's call what it really is, because it's never somebody's fault. It's just one of these three things are missing. So that's what we teach.
Amazing. Now, isn't that a good wrap up? Get the outcome is the cat out of your Move framework, really. So out of the bag from your Move framework. Yeah. Crazy stuff. So, Sangram, I know my listeners are probably wondering, how do I get more out of this? How do I work with you, or how do I get to understand more? So where can our listeners go?
All right, well, here we go. So you can go to gtmpartners.com, and we have put all of these resources, not just 15, like we not only say, well, here's the Move framework, but we're giving you literal words like the 15 go-to-market problems that you have. You can go in and look at what exactly each one of this problem is, and it's all free. If you want to download and use it, then you download it, but it's all free for you. Or you might have like, well, how do I build a scorecard so that I can get my teams aligned on it and have clarity around it? Or let me look at a tech stack, like what go-to-market problems we really have, how we solve it, and what kind of technology stack should I be using the whole go-to-market operating system. These are all available for free. So make use of it, make much of it. And if we can help you deliver that or use it, just hit us up.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sangram. I think we've all learned something today. And if nothing else, we know get the cat out of the bag as quickly as possible.
That's for sure. If you love it or not, like just get the cat out of the bag. Like as long as you do that, you'll be fine.
Thank you so much, Sangram.
Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, I just wanted to make sure that after today's session, you are leaving with some key takeaways. So first of all, let's focus on what is GTM. As Sangram mentioned, it is not a strategy. It is definitely not your company's strategy. And it is not a project. You don't just do it once and it's done. It is a product. If you're wondering as well, who owns GTM? Can it be the marketing team? Can it be sales? He actually explicitly mentioned it has to be the CEO. Why? Because the CEO is the person who can influence your peers' compensation. So GTM must be in the CEO's agenda. How to think about GTM in an economic crisis. His advice is to focus on how to build profitable businesses. Let's not get carried away with our visions and what we think we can build in the future, but let's always keep things in perspective to make sure our businesses are profitable. He then mentioned to us one common mistake he sees that businesses should avoid when pursuing GTM, and it's really not going after your total addressable market. Yeah, we can sell to everyone out there, but we don't want to go after everyone. We want to make sure we are focused on our relevant market. So go after your TRM, total relevant market, and not your total addressable market. And last but not least, what are these 4 questions you need to ask to successfully implement GTM? And it's all built within the Move framework. Make sure that you understand your market, which market to go after, operations, what do you need to operate effectively, and your velocity, when can you scale your business, and lastly, expansion, where can you grow the most? I really hope you enjoyed today's session. I look forward to seeing you again next week, same time, same place, where we will meet with Marcus Sheridan. He's the author of The Ask You Answer and also happens to own a HubSpot diamond agency called Impact. But Marcus really developed a framework about how to build a lead generation strategy that lets people be educated about their journey with you before you even get on that first sales call with them. So do join me and enjoy the rest of your day.